my bed again. So today I wanted to do a video that someone reminded me might be helpful. So giving birth in a pandemic video, or more like my experience. I know everybody's experience is different depending on well, if you're in the United States, you know, depending on the state you're in, even the county or the city that you're in, the hospital, sometimes even like the staff that shift, it could like change from shift to shift. But I just want to tell you my experience. So I gave birth at a hospital that wasn't super like strict about stuff. I know a lot of hospitals. I actually worked as a scheduler at a hospital, scheduler slash front desk at a hospital that was doing like regular inductions with testing prior to the induction date so that they have that done. And my best guess would be if I had delivered at that hospital, if you showed up in labor before that test, they would test you right then and there with the rapid one. That's my best guess. At my hospital that I gave birth at, I had a vaginal birth, so I didn't have to worry about this, but apparently having a C-section, they test you. Having a vaginal birth, they do not. So I didn't have to worry about that. My partner didn't have to worry about that. Wasn't the issue, wasn't a problem. They only do it if there's a reason to, or if the mother asks specifically. That's what one of the nurses told me, is that sometimes the moms like want to be tested. I don't know. But yes. In my experience, when we showed up at the hospital, so I was induced, so when we showed up at the hospital, obviously we walked through the ER because it was at nighttime. So walking through the hospital, we had to have masks on. Going upstairs, we had to have masks on. Checking in, we had masks on and all that stuff. But once I was admitted, basically once the nurse that was admitting me left the room and I took my mask off, I think I might have put it back on one time, but once I was admitted and I was like officially being induced, I never put it on again. I actually forgot about it, like completely, and forgot we're even in a pandemic. So I didn't wear it. My boyfriend was never asked to wear his, but he decided to wear it. Whenever someone came in, if he remembered to, he would put it on. I didn't even bother. Being in labor, focusing on that, because my labor was uncomfortable from the very get-go, because she was sunny side up, that was enough to worry about. I didn't want to have to worry about a mask or anything like that. On top of it, if someone had asked me to put it on, or had asked if I was able to at any point, I would have done it. But the thing is, you know, in labor and delivery, they assume that you're probably healthy, you're giving birth to a baby, you've probably been careful. That's probably my best guess on why they weren't asking us to do anything like that. When I did get to postpartum, they had us wear masks. I think I said this in my story, that they asked us to wear masks once we got there. I wore a mask when we left the room, which I almost forgot about when we were in the hallway. And then when I got to my room, we had to wear masks. To leave, we had to wear masks. But a lot of times I would forget about it because, like I said, I kind of was just in my little newborn bubble, forgetting that anything else was going on in the world. My boyfriend would put his on, and that would kind of like be like, oh yeah, that's right, we're supposed to put it on. But most of the time I was coming out of the bathroom or breastfeeding her with a mask out of my reach, or, you know, something was on the table and I moved the table out of the way, and, you know, she was a newborn. I was learning how to nurse. I wasn't about to like lean over all the way to the table, and, you know, people weren't really that strict about it, to be honest. So mask thing wasn't really a big thing. We did have a limit to who could come. The limit was 0. So you can have one support person. My partner came in with me. He was the only person who was allowed to come in. He was allowed to leave and come in and out if he needed to, but obviously they wanted to limit that. He ended up never leaving at all, except once very early when we first got there, because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to stay. We were kind of trying to like squish ahead of time, so I wanted to make sure I was admitted before we got my stuff. So right when I was admitted, he left to go get my suitcase, and then obviously at the very end when we were about to be discharged, he went to take my stuff to the car and get the car for us. I think he might have made 2 trips out, so it wasn't just 1 trip, but you know, that's understandable. So he was allowed to come and go. They did feed him. In postpartum, they specifically had a dish for him, so we could order a mom dish and a dad dish. In labor and delivery, it was technically only my food, but we could order as much as we wanted, so we were able to like share food basically. And that way we didn't ever have to order anything. He never had to leave to go pick up any food or to pick up downstairs for like a delivery thing, like a DoorDash or anything. But we weren't allowed to have any visitors at all. My daughters couldn't come meet their sister in the hospital, which was very difficult for me. When I was in labor, obviously I wasn't noticing how much time was going by, so you know, I wasn't really realizing that I hadn't seen my babies in 2 days. Obviously I was checking in on them when I was like, you know, thinking about it enough to be able to be like, oh yes, like I really, really miss them. And in the beginning, you know, I really missed them a lot. I was like in tears thinking about having to leave them before I left the house and all that, of course, because you never want to leave your kids. And all that, but you know, as soon as I was postpartum and they were asking me about wanting to go home and when I want to leave and all that, all I could think about was getting home to my kids. And you know, I FaceTimed them when I was in postpartum. We FaceTimed my boyfriend's son. It was, I don't know, it was hard for me. The good thing in my eyes is, besides the fact that I had kids, I actually liked that, because when I had the twins, people just wanted to visit and I was kind of bombarded with guests and I just wanted some space, honestly, but I didn't want to be rude. So I ended up having people coming and going and coming and going, and especially with the girls in the NICU, it wasn't very easy because every time someone came to visit me, I would have to go back to my room and then we'd have to go back to the NICU and then I'd have to walk them back out, and it was just a pain in my butt. So I didn't really like that. And even with Parker in our room and everything, I feel like everything was just so, like, we hadn't slept and all that stuff. We just wanted some space to, I don't know how he felt, I can't speak for him, but I'm sure he felt the same or similar. I wanted my space. I didn't want visitors to come. It was kind of nice to not be able to have visitors, but I do wish that my daughters were able to come and meet their sister, because I really, really missed them, and I feel like I would have been down to stay longer in the hospital had I been able to have them visit. So that kind of sucked. So I think that might be everything that are frequently asked questions or whatever. I kind of tried to like Google it and see like what people asked, and then remember off the top of my head what people were thinking. There is something that happened during pregnancy that I can talk about, but I think I already talked about that in my pregnancy updates. Just to cover it again, I was not allowed to have my partner come to any of my appointments with me, but he was allowed to come to every single time I went to triage. So every single time that I called for reduced fetal movements, when I fell down the stairs, when I went in for dehydration, when I had the tooth abscess, all of those times that I went in, when I went in for cramping. There was one time he didn't come because he was at work, and I told him, look, like, they're having me come in, but it's not even going to be worth it for you to come because I know I'm going to be sent home. And I was. I told him, like, if anything did happen, I'd obviously tell you. And then I guess there was one other time early on, I had a lot of discharge, and it was when my discharge kind of started upping. And so I called just to ask about it, and they were like, oh, well, we want to make sure it's not your water, because my discharge tends to be really watery. So I went in by myself because he was driving to LA, so he couldn't come with me that time. And then the other time when he was at work. But I ended up going to the hospital a total of 9 times, I think. So 7 out of 9 is pretty good. And of course, he also came with me to my 3D ultrasound, or I guess 3D ultrasounds, because I had 2 of them. The gender one or whatever. And then the 3rd trimester one. And then he came with me to a clinic because I was not satisfied with the ultrasound that I had at my normal doctor office. At 6 weeks, or I guess almost 7 weeks, it was 6 weeks, 6 days. So I was unhappy with that. So he came to a clinic with me. They allowed me to have a visitor. That's right when they were starting to implement the masks. So I remember that was the first time I went out and had to wear a mask, and I was like freaked out because I was claustrophobic and all that. And then he ended up actually being able to come with me to my first appointment, because my first appointment was March 16th, and the shelter in place started March 17th. So the day after my appointment is the day they started implementing like video visits only and stuff like that if possible. And I'm sure that's probably when he was going to start being able to not come with me. So we ended up lucking out that I was able to get an appointment that day, because that was the last chance. So he was able to come, and you know, even though it wasn't my doctor, he met a doctor. He saw the ultrasound. He got to hold my hand while I got a pap smear, because I'm really scared of those. So that was nice. But yeah, I mean, where I am, it's still being very difficult with the appointments. I have a colposcopy appointment in January, and the only reason he's going to be able to come is because I've asked to be given medication to help me relax, because I'm really scared of that. I had a really bad experience in the past, but I'm unsure if he can even come in or if he has to wait outside or what. But yeah, no partners at the appointments. So I've seen on YouTube and stuff that other people have been able to start joining their partners at appointments and stuff, but that just hasn't been the case here for me yet. So that could potentially be something if you are to get pregnant during this time. So yeah, that's everything. Just wanted to talk about that. You can hear little baby Parker in the background, and yeah. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous day. I hope everybody had a great weekend, and thanks so much for watching. Hopefully you guys can like or subscribe or whatever. Obviously I'd like the, I'd like the support, so I'm down with that. All right, bye.